he represents the mitten. By way of Penn State, when Chapman gets to talking sports, the people can't wait, he represents the mitten. Be a true EMU, but cut Dennis in the fall, and his veins bleeding blue, they got respect around the state. When that light turns red, so don't sleep on these dudes. Just invite your friends to cut your nap short and tip your cap for, and sit back for the Fith chapter. Brian Chapman, Dennis Fithian. When they open their mouths, they spit in the facts, bro. This ain't even optional, man. You just have to tune into YouTube to watch the broadcast, or download it to your phone to peep the podcast. They mix laughter, they get after. It's all captured in the Fith chapter. That's right. Welcome to the Fith chapter. I am Brian Chapman. He is Dennis Fithian. Here for episode 123, and for the first time in nearly 3 weeks, Dennis and I are on the same screen at the same time doing a show together.
Cut your nap short. Let's go, man.
That's right. 2 weeks ago, it was Dennis going on vacation, and last week it was me going on vacation. And in case you're wondering what I was doing on my vacation, I went out to California, went out to Southern California for a bachelor party last Thursday through Sunday. And you're probably thinking, well, why weren't you on Tuesday? Well, my vacation actually began on Monday. If you want to see what I was doing during the early portion of my vacation, well, I'm glad you asked. Let me show you a little bit of what I did. Bam and bam. Got attacked by tidal waves in the ocean. Here's a replay.
You got a slow-mo of that?
I wish I had a slow-mo of it.
No, you can slow that up and be sweet. You could move to California. Would you do it?
If I could move and be very close to a beach, and I could do that all the time, and I could have enough money to live comfortably because the cost of living there is so high. I would consider. I mean, the cost of living was outrageous. I was going by some of the houses in the Santa Monica area because the groom actually lived there for several years, and I have a friend who lives in Hollywood, and they were showing me these houses, and they're like, "Oh, this is like $1 million, $1.5 million," and it's like, dang, in Detroit this would be like a third of the price, and the gas prices were like over $4.50 a gallon. So just a lot of things are very expensive there, but I love the beach. I love going to the beach. Being from Michigan, I don't understand how some people like to go all the way to a tropical environment or to a beach just to look at the water. I have to be in. And in the first 51 hours that I was in Southern California, I went to the beach 5 times.
Yeah, it's sweet. No, I agree with you. If you had the money, it would be a different story being out there. But, I wouldn't want to drive like 90 minutes every day to work.
Yeah.
By the coast and then 90 minutes all the way back, so something like that, like a lot of people do. But yeah, it's pretty sweet. Well, it's good to have you back.
Yeah, and it's good to be back with you. And little Brian, if you miss him, he's been on the last 3 episodes. We'll have him on today as well, but not as much as perhaps you're used to in the last couple of days. It'll be an adjustment for little Brian as well. But definitely want to thank everybody for tuning in to episode number 123. Thanks to all who are watching on YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch, and to those who are listening to the podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Make sure you like, subscribe, and participate in the show by sending in your feedback via Facebook Live, via YouTube, and via Twitter. Via Twitch. Dennis will be reading it throughout the course of the show. And if you're wondering what we're going to be talking about during tonight's show, let's take a look at tonight's book. As you can see in the second chapter, we're going to talk a little Pistons, but not Pistons basketball, because they built a courtside club, the first of its kind in the NBA. We'll give you the talk a little Pistons. We'll show you the artist rendering of it, and we'll let you know whether we think it's a good idea or a bad idea, and whether we would be interested in watching a game from this courtside club. In the third chapter, the Tigers ended the first half of the season getting swept. They start the second half with a sweep and another victory yesterday. We'll tell you what we think is the most impressive part about their undefeated second half of the season. In the fourth chapter, Coronavirus is back, not just here in the U.S. where more restrictions are coming into place, but the numbers are rising in Tokyo. At least 71 folks in the Olympic Village have tested positive. And, oh, look, a disgusting same old Lions cup by Dennis. But we'll tell you whether or not we think the Olympics should happen and what the impact of these rising numbers will be. And then in the fifth chapter, it's the major wager where we will try to give you guys some betting advice. Obviously, tonight you got Game 6 in the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
You got a full baseball slate. Perhaps something else will be on the hopper for one of us. So a lot going on in tonight's episode 123. But Dennis, you have to start off with, as usual, the first chapter. And that takes us to the NBA Finals, or perhaps we'll have some major wager action. And if things are looking really good for the Suns after the first two games, they won games 1 and 2 at home, but the Bambis have grown some antlers in the last 3. They won each of the last 3 in game 5. They closed out the game with a big steal by Drew Holiday and then the alley-oop to Giannis while he got fouled. And now the Bambis have a chance to win the title today in the Bambi district in Milwaukee in 6. It's going to be an environment that's very conducive to shooting free throws for Giannis because they're not going to be counting and rushing him at the free throw line with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I was going to grab a stack of C-notes.
That's right. Flicking those $100 bills out there. But Bambis have a lot of momentum. Home court advantage tonight. Dennis, will the NBA Finals end the season end tonight?
I think so. I hope not, though. I want to see a game 7. But the way things are going here with Milwaukee and just the way Giannis has stepped forward along with Middleton and Holiday, who was so bad in game 4. I didn't want him to shoot, man. If I was a Bucks fan, I'd be like, oh my God, don't shoot the ball anymore. Like it was cringe. He just came out in game 5, man, and started right out and said, I'm putting this one behind me. And he hit his first couple shots. And, he might be the best defender in all the NBA if it's not his teammate Giannis. And, you see the defense stepping forward that way. So the Bucks being at home tonight, I think they do close it out. If not, I think it'll be Phoenix coming back at a game 7 on their own floor. But that's what I'm hoping to see a game 7. And you know what, Chapman? I think it's good for the Pistons if the Bucks win tonight.
Why is that?
I think because they're a Midwest team, and the other thing is that they got their superstar, and they didn't pick him number 1 overall like the Pistons are going to pick Cade Cunningham, but they got Giannis, and he wasn't an immediate superstar. It took him 3-4 years before he got up to even close to being that status. But he decided to stay there in Milwaukee and not go to New York or not go to LA or Miami or something like that. He easily could have done that. And by sticking and staying and winning a championship, it does. I mean, other players look at that kind of thing. Like if it didn't work and then he was putting up some kind of stank and then was trying to, get out of Dodge and everything, it might be that way, for, Cade Cunningham would be like, okay, I've served my time here. I'm going to do like Sue. I'm going to do like, the Greek Freak. As soon as his contract's done, I'm out of here. But, you see a guy stay, enjoy the community, plant his roots there and stay with the team that drafted him and then be able to win it. I think that's good. It's a great story. It's great for the NBA. It's it doesn't hurt the Pistons. Now you could say it hurts the Pistons because they're in the same division and all that. But, by the time the Pistons Pistons aren't looking to win a championship in the next year or 2, maybe even 3, probably 4.
Yeah, definitely not the next couple of years. But if you're a Pistons fan, a good sign was that Cade Cunningham was at yesterday's Tiger victory and appeared to be enjoying himself, was taking some pictures with some of the fans, at least outside of Comerica Park, and might have been taking pictures with fans inside Comerica Park as well. I wish I didn't have to give an opinion, which I kind of have to do because of the nature of the show that we're doing. But my heart tells me that this could be a toss-up, that this game could go either way, that the Suns or the Bucks could win Game 6. Obviously, with this game being on the Bucks' home floor, Bambi's home floor, they've got an opportunity to continue their momentum to win Game 6, perhaps even decisively. But they've never been in a situation like this. They could choke. And with the Suns having their back up against the wall, I have to imagine that they're going to bring their best effort. CP3 is going to show up after having some turnovers in the last few games and the 3 losses. And you also look at the fact that 3 of the last 4 games have been decided by 10 points or less, and it could come down to the wire. And it could be that Devin Booker has a shot that decides it. But on the other hand, my head tells me that the Bambis are going to win this game, and it could even be a blowout. And sometimes you have closeout games that are blowouts. Like you think about the Pistons when they beat the Lakers in Game 5 back in 2004. That was a blowout. Everybody knew it, about halfway through the game that it was a foregone conclusion what was going to happen. And the one game that wasn't within 10 points in the last 4 was the 20-point win by the Bambis in Milwaukee in Game 3. The Bambis have a ton of momentum, given that they've won 3 in a row. The Bambis aren't playing as much dumb basketball. And if they're not playing dumb basketball, and this is huge, if they're not playing dumb basketball, and you got a coaching advantage that's even, that's a wash. Whereas earlier in the series, it was a huge advantage for Monty Williams, and you're just talking about the roster talent that each team has, then it's the edge for the Bambis because the Bambis have a more talented roster. It's just that they played stupid basketball and weren't coached well. So if they're going to play as intelligently and be coached as well, then I'm not going to say that the Suns don't have a chance, but it heavily favors the Milwaukee Bambis. So I hope there's a Game 7. I hope there's a Game 7 because I don't like the Bambis, even though they've played differently the last few games. I hope there's a Game 7 because I placed a bet before the playoffs started on the Suns to win, but I am not optimistic.
Reason for me.
What's that?
That's a good enough reason for me to be pulling for the Suns that you actually bet on them.
Yes.
Yeah, look, you mentioned that, the 10 points in the last 3 games. These last 2 games, there's under 2 minutes to go. I mean, the game was hanging in the balance. I mean, they're 1 possession games. And that's what, those games could have gone Phoenix's way, especially Game 4. They were sitting there. If you make, Middleton made the play, and you already mentioned, the Holiday coming up with the steal. I mean, if you're sitting here, if I'm the Suns, and if you tell me that there's going to be under 2 minutes to go and it's going to be a tie game, you're going to take that? You are.
Yes.
This time you got to make those plays. You're right about Chris Paul. Some people speculating, Chris Paul's hurt.
Yes.
Chris Paul, maybe it's a shoulder. Maybe I think it's documented about it. Maybe his fingers or his hand or whatever. They're banged up. But yeah, he's careless with the basketball. And that's not when you're a, grizzled veteran like a CP3. You're not just coming down kind of like sometimes just like, wow, man, take a little bit better care of the ball. Guys are coming in looking to snatch that thing from you. So, there could be an injury there, but you know what? You're right. You see these games and the way they go, and we saw them in the first couple games, like Game 3 in Milwaukee, where they just put the foot down and they just, ran past them. That thing was over. And it ended up being 20, could have been a 30-point blowout in the way Phoenix handled Milwaukee in their place the first 2 games. That it could go a lot of these ways. I'm thinking it's going to be like the last 2 games. It's going to come down to the last couple minutes here, and let's see who's getting ready to make the plays. And you know what? I want the season to continue. I want the season to continue. So I would like to see.
Just so you know, I said whoa because for the second time in about 30 seconds, my lights flickered. We are having some heavy thunderstorms roll through Metro Detroit. So hopefully episode 123 doesn't get cut short due to my power going out. But if it goes out, that's why.
Hey, stuff happens like that. Some of the feedback you'll see as we go through some of it here. DJ was Major is happy. He's declaring that B Chap is back, and he certainly is. Beth saying that the Greek Freak has something to prove. MVP. Yeah, I think the Greek Freak, unless Middleton comes up, maybe, throws up a double nickel or something tonight, I think he could take it from him. But I think this is Giannis's. If I had to put money, and you probably can. In fact, I know you can put money on the MVP right now. I would bet that Antetokounmpo would be the money line favorite. And you know what? I have a feeling that little Brian, our intern, is right now opening one of his sports betting apps and looking up the MVP odds. That's right, so that he can share them with us and with everybody else watching tonight. The thing about the Greek Freak is I would assume that he's the favorite to win the MVP at this point, not only because the Bambis are winning the series, but also because when you look at the players on the team, the only guy that you could say is in contention would be Middleton. The problem is, like, he has had
those clutch moments with the dunks at the end of games and so
And
the
the
block
block.
in game 4. But at the same time, like in game 5, he missed his final 4 free throw attempts because the fans in Phoenix were counting very quickly. And you kind of want an MVP to not choke at all, but, and there goes my lights flickering again, but when he chokes at the free throw line in every road game, it makes me like search for a reason to give it to Middleton. So if Middleton comes up, and Middleton has been more clutch in these games in terms of scoring. Now he hasn't had like the block that Giannis had, but he's had like down the stretch, last 3-4 minutes of the game, if you exclude the free throw line, like Middleton has been their primary scorer. I do think that that he would not be the favorite. I'm going to assume it's going to be like Giannis at -300. Middleton would be at second place at like plus 1. I'd say like plus 190, 200, something like that.
I'd buy that, and then probably Booker and Paul.
Yeah, something like that. I mean,
after that,
I can't imagine anybody else in the Bambis would have a shot. But I will say this: the third member of their big 3 that they tried to create was Drew Holiday, and they had that trade in the offseason where they got rid of Bledsoe and a draft pick, and I think George Hill, in order to bring Drew Holiday in there. I was thinking, I don't think this is going to make that much of an impact, and certainly it has. But if the Suns want to win this game, I think what they need to do is they need to just shut down Drew Holiday offensively, because nobody can stop Giannis, particularly on the Suns. You don't want to get DeAndre Ayton into foul trouble, but nobody can shut down him. Middleton is probably going to get his 25 plus points no matter what, but you can't have Drew Holiday going off for, I think he had 27 or 29 in the last game. He struggles at times. So put your best defender on him, double team if you need to, and keep him under 20. If he gets over 25 points, then it's game over. If he's 20 to 25, it's anyone's game. If they can hold him under 20 points, then I like the Suns' chances to extend it to game 7.
Yeah, well, you just have to look at the last 2 games. I know Milwaukee won both of them, but in game 4, Holiday wasn't any good at all. I mean, he plays good defense. He's always had that. He's all NBA defense, first team. But then, you give it to him because he's been guarding Chris Paul, and Paul hasn't been playing the best here in the last 2 games. But, man, he couldn't hit the broadside of the barn in game 4, but he came back right off the jump, hit his first couple shots, and then he was awesome in the fourth quarter and had the big steal and everything else. So, yeah, I agree with you on that. I think on the other side here, you get the Suns, and I think you know what you get from Ayton and, Devin Booker. Is he somebody that can win the game for you if you're Phoenix and he's going nuts? He can. We've seen that from him even in this series here. I would say stay out of foul trouble if you're Devin Booker. That'd be another key. Yeah,
and the thing about the Phoenix Suns' big 3 is it seems like Devin Booker doesn't really have a cap. You have to figure he's going to go for at least 25 points tonight, but could he go for 30? Yes. Could he go for 40? Yes. Could he go for 50? Yes, I think so. Chris Paul, they're going to need to get him close to 30 points as close as possible. I wonder what DeAndre Ayton's is, because he's been able to go out there and put up at least a solid 15 and 10. I think in the last game he put up 20, but does he, how low is, or how high is his ceiling? Can he elevate his game high enough with Brook Lopez and Giannis defending him on the paint to get into that 25 to 30 range? Because when I look at who else is going to have to chip in, especially considering role players aren't usually as effective on the road, like it's after you get past those top 3, like you can't count on Crowder or one of the Cams to go off for 15 to 20. If you do, that's a huge bonus. But I'm looking at the first overall draft pick, DeAndre Ayton, and say, look, it may be only your 3rd year, but we're going to need you to have the best game of your career, not just of the postseason, but of your career if you want to extend this.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you. You ready to move it on?
Yeah, let's turn the page now to the second chapter.
Yeah, and that gets us to the Pistons. You already mentioned Cade Cunningham was in Detroit at Comerica Park last night, but the Pistons this week came out with an idea, and they also had an artist rendering of a bar on the baseline, Courtside Club at the Little Caesars Arena. Do you think this is a good idea or not? Chat.
Yeah, you can see there's an artist rendering of it. It's called what is it? The Cure Insurance Club or something like the Cure Insurance Courtside Club. And like one of the first things I was thinking of is what is Cure Insurance? Because I've heard of Geico, Progressive, State Farm, all these different insurance companies. And I'd never heard of Cure Insurance, but apparently it's like a New Jersey based insurance company that I guess is going to try to make some inroads in the state of Michigan. And I guess one of their biggest, financial ventures into it is going to be this Cure Insurance Courtside Club. I don't know that anyone watching a Pistons game or going to a Pistons game and getting those courtside seats is going to be thinking, oh, the Pistons are down by 15 points to the Bambis in a game in the middle of December. Let me think about scrolling on my app to get some Cure Insurance. But I was saying that it's going to be available to anybody who has courtside seats. So if you pay a lot of money to sit right around the court, right around the baseline, right around the sidelines, you have the opportunity to sit there and go to this club where they have some stand-up tables, they have a bartender, things like that, and it looks cool in the picture. And I think that if you are a celebrity, and certainly if you're wealthy, but if you're a celebrity, it could be the place to go. I could see like Jay-Z and Beyonce, if the Nets are in town, they could decide to go to a game and then hang out in the courtside club. I could see, Bob Seger or some other celebrities wanting to go there and be shown, and they could be put up on the Jumbotron at LCA. And it could be kind of a status symbol like, hey, I'm a big star in Metro Detroit because I'm in the courtside club watching the Pistons game. Whoa.
My dog, he wants in.
Whoa.
So wants in the studio.
A fourth host on the show. But aside from it looking cool, I wouldn't want to go there because when I go to games, I don't go to be seen. I go to watch and I go to cheer. And I mean, not only are the tickets going to be expensive to sit courtside, but I wouldn't want to spend all my time hanging around in the courtside club, getting drinks and talking to the bartender. Like if I'm there, I might want to try to flirt with the Instagram model who got down there and see if I can get her number and stuff like that. Because it seems like it's a place to be seen, and it doesn't seem like a place to go if you're cheering on the team. Like if I got those courtside seats, it would be convenient because I'd be able to go get a drink or something like that whenever I want to. And I could chat with like some Instagram models and rich people during halftime and stuff like that and say, yeah, I'm not in your tax bracket or whatever. But during the game, unless there's like a blowout in the fourth quarter, which for a team that was last in the Eastern Conference last year is likely, I'm not going to be spending a hell of a lot of time there. So it would not be all that appealing to me as a fan.
Yeah, I think just the wave of the future. If you look around, I think the Hawks already have one in place. And so unless you're looking for it, I think I noticed it during the playoffs where, they had their bar. I don't know if it was as big as the one that the Pistons have here. And we'll see if the Pistons, is that noticeable when you're watching the game on TV. But then I know the Hawks were the first team to, have this put into place. But you look at some of the ballparks. I think of Dallas's new stadium. You can look; they've got the suites like that are right there on the field. You see people, and some of the Cleveland's one. You look at some of the other stadiums. They've got the suites and the glass where the whole. You're sitting there and you're kind of on TV. People like all that. At the old Joe Louis Arena, you'd go up. Miller Lite had like 3 or 4 of the suites. And it was the entire corner. I would go up there and and hang out a little bit, with some of the, just bar. You're watching the live game. It's not everybody. You know what you find out, Chapman? You're a big time sports fan. You're watching the game. You're into it. You're thinking about what's going on. You're talking about cheering. But for the most part, even people that are big time sports fans, man, they're just there having yeah, sure, watch it, some dunks and everything. But hey, sit there for 10 minutes in the first quarter. Let's go spend 10 minutes down at the bar. Let's roll back for the second half. We can spend halftime here. And, this is the way things are going now. And, I get there's quite a few bars anyways. Like if you are sitting there courtside, you can duck out but this way you're seen and you're out there. And, I think it's a good idea. I think it's, and they're not going to let somebody in the nosebleeds that come down, sit at the end of the bar and be like, I want another drink. You're not going to be able to get in there. It's going to be pretty tough, to get in there.
You have to have courtside seats.
Yeah, or be like Johnny Kane. It'd be pretty cool for Johnny Kane. He'll be at the game when he's not in there. Maybe
Valley Sports Detroit is going to be selling the crap out of that. Hey, I'm over here in the new Cure Insurance Courtside Clubs. Let's talk to this person. What do you think about?
Here's Johnny Kane. Get a drink. Johnny will be sitting in there.
Yeah, I mean the problem. One problem I could see is, considering the Pistons weren't good last year, whether they get Cade Cunningham or they trade it for Mobley and a bunch of picks or Green and a bunch of picks, they're, even if they're much better, they're going to be like a play-in team, best case scenario. So they're going to be a bad team. And like, imagine a game against the Denver Nuggets in February and the Pistons are down by 20 and you got, people joking about, oh, I guess everybody's over in the Courtside Club because there's no reason to watch the game. Or if the Pistons are really bad next year and they look like they're headed for another top 5 pick, then, Johnny Kane will be sitting in the Courtside Club all by himself because the rich people don't feel like going down and socializing at the Detroit Pistons bar and club, which is basically what it's going to be like, because what's the point of going there and watching the Pistons lose? You're basically paying like a $300 cover charge.
Yeah, well, the hope is that the Pistons obviously are going to get a lot better here. Like Beth is saying, do you think they're doing this since they're drafted? She was calling him C2 2 weeks ago. Now she's calling him motorcade. He should put butts in the seats. This is like an extra perk. You know what I like? Yeah. I like C2 and I like motorcade. You know what? When Tom Gores bought the Pistons,
I like motorcade better.
I like both C2 and motorcade. But I can recall being down there for Pistons games, and sitting there and looking. And Gores had this was at the Palace, but he had the suite, the lower suite, right at the midcourt. And, I would work maybe 10, 15 games a year. And, out of the 12 of the 15, that thing was empty. Like, you'd sit in there. I mean, here's like the best suite in the entire Palace, the owner. And he wouldn't be at it. He was never at any of the games. There was a few people that, he let use it or whatever for a couple of the games. But, yeah, I mean, that's the downside. I mean, when the team sucks, you're going to have the empty bar. And it's going to look like there's a pandemic.
We know that during this pandemic, there are a lot of businesses that are looking for employees and they're begging people to come back. They're raising wages. They're doing whatever they can. And some businesses have had to shut down. Like, if the Pistons aren't good or they're not good enough to entice fans to come back, or the draw of Cade Cunningham is not as strong as the Pistons would like it to be, like, what if the Pistons courtside bar shuts down because the bartender was tired of serving 4 people per game and not getting any tips and decides to go to the dive bar down the street? I mean, that's the type of thing that we could experience if the Pistons suck.
Well, I would love, you get pretty creative. If you're not getting the attendance there, you go to one of those dive bars that you're talking about, pull up in a bus and say, everybody out, we're going out of the Piston game. Pull up, a bunch of dudes walk in like, hey, we're here. But, to be honest, like, so it's really catering to 1% of the fan base, right? I mean, nobody, even if you're, like, I've never sat. I mean, I have for the media, but I've never, as a fan, got even close to being sitting in the front row. I mean, those seats are a couple $100, maybe $1,000 to begin with. So, I'm never. You're not sitting in there either, chap. I know everything's taken off for you. Things are looking good, but you're not sitting in there. So
no, absolutely not.
So I don't know. Does it look bad on TV? I don't think it looks bad on TV. It looks all right to me.
It looks good on TV, and like, I think you're right when you say that it's the wave of the future, because there are a lot of people there that like to socialize and have a good time. And I think that the closer you get to the floor, the more likely you are to socialize. Like, obviously, it's cool to be sitting courtside and you're like a 5'7" guy and you see a bunch of 6'7" and 7-footers running around. You think, this is amazing. Look how fast they are, and it's awesome. But you got a lot of folks that are sitting courtside or in those first 4 or 5 rows that are from out of town, that are visitors, but they got the corporate seats from the company. So they just say, hey, we're in town for the week. Our company's giving us some tickets. We're from Texas. We don't really care who wins the Bulls Pistons game, but we'll watch the first half to see what Cade Cunningham's like. Then we'll go over to the bar and socialize and see if we can talk to the Instagram model, or we can go talk to T Grizzly or whatever celebrity is there or something like that. But I think that this is going to be like a status symbol, and people are going to be taking their pictures and saying, "Oh, look, what celebrity can I snap there?" I mean, unless the Pistons become like, if the Pistons become like a top 3 seed in the conference, then I could think it'd be really cool for celebrity watching, because celebrities like to travel to see NBA games. Like, you'll see Rihanna go to Houston a couple years ago to see James Harden or something like that. If Cade Cunningham becomes a top 5 player and the Pistons are a championship contender, then you'll see stars coming to Detroit and hanging out at the Courtside Club as they watch games. But until then, there's a chance of it being mocked. There's a chance of it being empty. And I question it. If this is in like Brooklyn, then this is awesome.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's a great idea. And there's all kinds of different things like this. We just sit here as I was listening to you. There could be, Ford, buys a block of, 6 tickets there and then raffles them off or something. So you get your average fan that's in there. They're taking selfies there. I mean, and people love that kind of stuff. So I think it'll be great. If you've ever had a chance to sit in a suite, you get in there, you see how the other side live, or, the 2%, whatever you want to say. You just sit there, you're like, man, you get a little taste of it. You're like, this is awesome, man. I can do this every day, come down to the game, you get premium parking, you go up. It's like, you're sitting in a suite, whether it's at Comerica or anything else. You're like, you got room to stretch out. You get a bathroom 5 feet away. You got a fridge full of beer and drinks. You sit there, you're like,
look up at the poor people.
And you do all of it, man. You're sitting out there, a little hot. You're like, hey, just keep the door open. I can feel the air kind of coming out here. Hit me, a little air conditioning through the suite. It's like, it's pretty nice, So, yeah, it's going to be awesome. I think, it's for none of us, but it's pretty cool for the people that got a lot of money.
And I guess hopefully from a Pistons standpoint, if the Pistons are struggling, it would still be a reason to draw fans, rich folks to come and to spend their money.
Yeah, you get a poor man's bar like in the upper deck or something. You get it out there, or
selling Natty Light.
Well, I don't know the beers, anyways. Beers are pretty. The drinks are. It's not like you're going to go up there. You might be, if you can get a beer for $8.50 or something.
Yeah. I don't think the average poor person is going to be saying, "Yeah, let's go get another 6 beers each and struggle paying rent."
I'll tell you what, at the Joe Louis Miller Lite, like the people that went there, it's not like you paid for your beer. So however you got there, it was basically, bar owners and people that, they could bring along as their friends and everything. So there were a lot of you'd say average folks that, were able to get in there. It was pretty awesome, man, being in the Miller Lite suite. I'll tell you that.
Well, Little Brian says $13 beers at LCA love it. What else do you think about this idea of having this courtside club at Little Caesars Arena? Are you a fan of it? Would you go?
I don't think I would go. I think it's kind of dumb, just because, like you guys said, it's not a big market. If this is Brooklyn or at Madison Square Garden, or it's not Oracle, but whatever the Golden State
San
Warriors
Francisco.
play, I think it's totally different. I think that's awesome in that respect. But in Detroit, I don't really know about it. I just don't like the idea. If I want to sit courtside,
kind of blue collar Detroit, it doesn't fit. Is that what you're saying?
I just don't think it fits well in the city. I mean, my dad's always told me that he has this goal when he's done paying for me and my sister. He wants to go sit courtside. I don't want to go sit in a club and watch the game. I want to be on the court watching the game. I just don't see the need to get up and go hang out with smooth Johnny Kane over there.
Well, I mean, you could still sit in your seats. I mean, if you have the courtside seats, you don't have to go to the courtside club. It's the option to go walk around and sit over there or stand at the standing tables during the game. But I mean, I'm like you. If I've got courtside seats for the first time in my life, then I'm going to sit there and watch the game, maybe schmooze during halftime with some of the other people or get a drink. But I'm going to be during the game, especially if it's a competitive game, I'm not going to be like talking to other people and then look up and there's 5 minutes to go. Hey, it's a nail biter. Let's continue to sit or stand over here, or let's finally trickle back to our seats. I'm watching the game.
I mean, you guys brought up the idea of like Rihanna going down to Houston to watch James Harden play. In the Pistons' heyday in the early 2000s, or way back in the day at the Silverdome, where there's celebrities coming from all over the country to watch the Bad Boys play, or like Ben Wallace and Sheed play. Like,
I mean, there was more people, period.
Eminem and Kid Rock.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the place. It was the place to be. There were people from across the country that would come in as well. Here's the one thing that you find out when you got a lot of money. Yeah, people that have a lot of money, they like amenities. They don't like just sitting in the front court. Hey, pretty cool. Let's saunter on down and hit the bar here at the end. It's something different. It's like you go into one of those Comerica suites like I talked about. You go in there, you sit down, you're like, wow, man, fridge full of beer. You got a bathroom here. You got the greatest seat. You know, you can stretch out. Next thing you know, they're like, yeah, hey, the dessert cart's out front. It's like, oh, hey, there's a banana split. Wait, what's coming up next? Hey, you guys want some pennants and stuff? They're bringing it all back. They got the ice cream and the helmet. It's like, geez, what, it's like, everything that you could possibly want, man. You just keep feeding it up, keep offering it up, man. You can keep doing it. That's the way it goes, man. Hey, you want a shot? Man, they got the shot carts coming through.
I think you guys hit it on the head, though. I mean, remember when there was issues with the red seats at LCA, so they had to make them black? I mean, there's going to be no one in that thing for the first couple of years, at least. So,
I mean, it depends on how quickly Troy Weaver can turn it around. If the Pistons are like a 500 team, or they're fighting for even the number 10 seed for the play-in, because the NBA announced that the play-in is coming back. I mean, you're not going to see a packed LCA for a play-in team contender for 41 home games, but you're also not going to have games where there's like 6,000 fans. I mean, if they can get a consistent 14,000 fans so that 2/3 of the stadium is full, I think that's nice. But if the team sucks, people are going to say, I'll watch Cade Cunningham put up 18 points a game from home, and then I'll laugh at how the Courtside Club is empty.
I'm not a fan of it. I don't like the idea of what the Raiders did, or like you guys said, the Cowboys. I'm just not a fan of stuff like that. Like, why go to the game to watch a game on TV or like sit at a bar? I think that's stupid.
All right, thanks for your 2 cents, little Brian.
He's a big diehard sports fan.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, I think this is definitely meant for people who are not necessarily diehard sport fans, but just looking for something to do on a Tuesday night or a Saturday night or whatever. And for those people, if they have a lot of money, that could be something to do.
You can never have enough amenities, Chapman. Remember that.
Yep. All right, you ready to turn the page to the third chapter? Let's do it. And that takes us to the Detroit Tigers. And the Tigers ended the first half of the season playing pretty poor baseball. The Twins had a bad record in the first half of the season. And the Tigers went into Minnesota and got swept in 4 games. They had a 4-game series to start the second half, but they got 1 game rained out. And they came back on Saturday. Swept the doubleheader, won on Sunday. So they swept the Twins to start off the second half of the season. And then yesterday, they beat the Texas Rangers.
Beat the pants off them.
14 to freaking nothing. Casey Mize had his little 3-4 inning start. And AJ Hinch thought enough of him to go that 4th inning. And you had the 2-run home run by Akil Baddoo. But then after that, it was just singling and walking the Rangers to death. The singles were just nickel and diming them, and the walks were the Rangers playing like a bad team. So the Tigers are undefeated, 4-0 in the second half of the season. The only bad thing about the team right now is the injury news. Yesterday, Jake Rogers going on the IL, and then today, Spencer Turnbull goes, he's done for the season and probably done for most, if not all of next year, with Tommy John surgery, as there was, I believe they said that there was like significant deterioration or chronic damage was the term in his elbow. He's going to have Tommy John surgery, but otherwise undefeated coming out of the break. What has been the most impressive part of the undefeated Tigers since the All-Star break, Dennis?
Well, there's a lot to pick from there, but I will go with the bullpen. You mentioned getting swept in those 4 games against Minnesota, and a lot of those games they had the lead. They were going into 6th, 7th inning. Sometimes 4-1. They were looking pretty good. They might have been up in all of those games, but then the 7th inning came around, and like that, the lead was gone. And in the end, the Friday game ended up being like 7-4. It's like, oh, Tigers got blown out. Actually, they were winning that game 4-1. And it was the same thing with some of those other ones. So to see them actually get good starts and then get some timely hitting and play some defense, we're used to those kind of things, but we're not used to the bullpen coming in and slamming the door and being able to preserve the win. So that's the thing that I would pick. Other than that, I would go to Badu. He's been alive and, electric. And then the other thing, it's not the most impressive thing, but, Saturday I watched a lot of the doubleheader. In the first game, there might have been 4,000 fans in the ballpark, and I was watching. I was like, man, this is sad. It's like nobody here. Now it was the makeup game and everything else, and you're looking around, you're like, man, they can't give away tickets. Well, they can give away tickets because they did, and for the nightcap, man, it looked like a sellout, and it was awesome when you have nobody in the ballpark, and then you fill the thing up, and then you get an exciting game and you win it. That was the one where Miggy had the walk off with the blooper to center that fell, and Scope came around. I mean, the place was going crazy. It was a fun game to watch. Phil Koch was there banging on the his sweet, like punching the glass and everything. I mean, it was really cool. And for a night, it was like how it used to be when the ballpark was packed every night. The Tigers were into it. It was a pennant chase and all that. And, it felt good for just a night.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, because I was on vacation, I didn't get to see any of the games in the sweep to start the second half of the season, but I did get to see the blowout yesterday. I went down to the casino to see the Tigers win 14-0. So that was a heck of a start in terms of me watching them. But for me, it's the most impressive part of the second half of the season. It was a guy that I did not get to see because he played on Sunday, and that's Willie Peralta. In his last start before the All-Star game, he gave up 1 run in 5 innings to the Minnesota Twins. And then in the rematch this past Sunday, he went 7 innings, gave up 1 run, and gave up 4 hits. Did walk 4, but gave up 4 hits. And, I mean, this guy just came out of nowhere. 32 years old. He has a 4.40 career ERA. He had a 5.80 ERA when he pitched in 2019. He did not pitch at all in 2020. I don't know if he just skipped out on the year or nobody wanted him because his ERA was close to 6. But, I mean, I was just thinking he was supposed to be just some dog that they brought up from AAA because they had some injuries to their pitching staff and they needed somebody to eat up some innings until like Boyd or Turnbull came back or Manning was ready. And instead, he's become the ace of the staff. He's got a 1.64 ERA in 7 games and 6 starts. He's got a 0.94 whip, and he backed it up with that great start on Sunday. And so, like, I know that and this is probably something we'll talk about on Thursday. There's a little tease for you. Al Avila apparently spoke to the media earlier today saying that the Tigers are not going to be selling at the deadline because the rebuild is done. But if there's a guy that might be the top of the Tigers' wish list to trade away and get some assets for, it could be Willie Peralta. He's going to make 2 more starts before the trade deadline. And if he keeps his ERA under 2, given that he's not going to have a gigantic contract, given that a team from the Rays to the Dodgers will be able to afford him, and given that he sucked a couple years ago and has been a mediocre pitcher throughout his entire tenure as a major leaguer, it wouldn't hurt the Tigers to give him up. And if the Tigers could get, like, from the Phillies, their 5th best prospect, or from the Mets, their 6th best prospect while they wait for DeGrom to come back or something like that, some other team needs a pitcher, why not do it? I think that he would become, if he has 2 more good starts, the Tigers' most tradable asset.
Yeah, would you go back? Did Al, I missed that. Did Al declare that the rebuild is over and there's going to be no trades?
Yeah, I'll see if I can find the
Okay.
the article.
I'll take your word for it. And if he said that, it does seem like there's no reason to.
It said, quote, "We're not rebuilding anymore."
All right. Yeah, I like it. If somebody wants a Peralta or somebody want a Jonathan Scope, to me, that would be something like, is he doing it to, like, drive the price up? Somebody's got to come with some kind of top 10 prospect or something for Scope. And you'll be like, no, he's a free agent. We're really making a run at the wild card. I mean, come on, everybody's going to have their price here. So I don't know. I'd have to see all of it and get a good feel on what he had to say.
Yeah, when it comes to scope, I'd be more interested in hanging on to him because I think that he could be more of a long-term solution at either one of the two spots on the right side of the infield, or at least a solution for the next 2 or 3 years where he could play valuable innings at second base or at first base, and he's got some pop in his bat. Whereas Peralta, like I'm expecting him to fall apart at any moment. And so if the Tigers can get the 6th or 7th best prospect from somebody's system who has never played in the major leagues for a guy who might have 0 more good starts left in his career, might have 1 or 2, or perhaps he becomes an all-star next year. We don't know. Just get something for him because it doesn't seem like he's going to be part of the Tigers' plans just based on this being like a 6 or 7 game fluke, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, we've been down this road with Scope before. I mean, he's a free agent at the end of the year, so you can sign him after the year if you ended up trading him. You know, the Yankees traded Aroldis Chapman, and they came back and then signed him afterwards. I mean, it can be done. There's nothing.
It can be, but it's rare.
There's nothing saying that it can't get done.
Mm-hmm.
Get it done.
What kind of feedback are we getting?
Well, everybody's basically agreeing with me and saying, hey, Chapman, go back on vacation. No, they're not saying that. Jelinek liked last night's game because they were beating the Rangers. And if you were online, you were probably having some fun with the Tigers' social media as they were saying things like this makes up for the bad call on the playoffs against the Cowboys.
Yeah, playoff game or a regular season game between 2 losing teams.
Yeah, I don't agree with Jelinek asking if we're agreeing with Avila. I'm not. You know, you can sell anything up if you want to. So that's where I'm at with the Tigers. But it was it's amazing. It's always amazing when you sweep a team, you get a winning streak like 4 games, just what it could do for you, just how you feel overall. Like the Tigers going into the All-Star break, that was like taking a 2x4 and slamming it into your face. It was like the way they were losing those games. And it was just like, because I know there were people that were like, look at this schedule. You know, they take 3 or 4 for the Twins and then come back, take 3 or 4, sweep them. Man, you could really be talking about wild card and things like that. It's like, you know, that wasn't me, but that's okay, you know, to get excited about it. You know, and looking at the schedule. I mean, that's what you do if you're a baseball fan. But then, you know, they got, you know, punched right in the mouth going into the All-Star break. So for a week, you're like, wow, that really sucked. It would have been completely different. Like if they would have had a 4-game winning streak going into the break all week, we'd have been like, wow, look at this, look at that.
Tigers are back. Here come the Tigers.
Here, Simo would have said, here they come. No, we're not trading anybody. You know,
plus,
stop sign. Hang up on them.
Plus, they're 7 games above 500, below 500 right now. If they had reversed it, like you said, they would have been 3 games below 500 all throughout the All-Star break, as opposed to 11 games below 500. So that week of no baseball, that 4 days without any Tigers baseball, would be talks of, hey, let's win 4 more in a row, and then all of a sudden we're already above 500.
Yeah, nobody's selling anybody. Here come the Tigers. Look out, AL Central.
Tigers are buyers.
On the buyers. Here come the Tigers. All right.
Are you ready to turn the page to the 4th chapter?
I am. That gets us to something that we don't know if it's still going to happen, but the Tokyo Olympics, the Summer Olympics 2020 or 2021, the opening ceremonies are Friday, but as of today, there was still talk of these games being canceled. Chapman, should they have these Olympics?
Well, that's a good question, and it became a little bit more complicated actually earlier today when I just saw, like within an hour of our show starting, that an official from the Tokyo Olympics said that there's still an opportunity for them to cancel the games before they start on Friday, and actually in a matter of hours, because it's already Wednesday in Tokyo. In a matter of hours, they're going to have their first events of the Tokyo Games. You know, this is I like watching the Olympics. I plan to watch, but it does have a potential to be disastrous. I mean, if you look at Americans, we've already got Bradley Beal out. You already got Coco Gauff out. Apparently, the NBA roster is so thin that they had to bring up JaVale McGee. Like, so many Americans don't want to play and then of course you got Bradley Beal out, and they've had to bring up JaVale McGee, a 0-time All-Star, but I guess he can bring championship experience. They've got a backup gymnast from the United States who's out due to testing positive for coronavirus, and there are 71 total positive tests in the Olympic Village, at least as of midnight, and that's only going to go up. A bunch of these athletes are not vaccinated because they're not from America, and in a lot of these other countries, most of the countries, the vaccine is not readily available. And I also saw that a major sponsor is pulling out, and that is Toyota. Of course, Toyota is from Japan. I drive a Toyota, and if you watch the Olympics in America, you'll see Toyota commercials. But if you are a Japanese resident, you will not see any more Toyota commercials on TV during the Olympics because they're pulling their ads due to the backlash of Japan holding the Olympics with so many incidents. So don't want the Olympics to take place due to rising coronavirus rates. I mean, when you think about the idea of having star basketball players not play because they tested positive, when you think about the possibility of having like the 100-meter dash won by the third fastest runner because the top two runners tested positive, or the top runner tested positive and the second one is in coronavirus protocols that take him or her through the final heat, it could be disastrous. And then on top of that, no fans are going to be in attendance. So when Simone Biles does like 70 flips in the air and lands it perfectly, like it'll be her team on the side that are clapping for her, but nobody in the stands. I don't know if they're going to have cardboard cutouts or there's just going to be blank stands, but nobody's going to be there to cheer her on. And that's going to make things worse. I think that no fans in the stands. I know we got through it when it came to Big Ten football, but it was not the same, not having whiteouts, not having 110,000 fans at Michigan Stadium and the like. I like being able to pan and see the fans. I like the roar of the crowd. And then for the games to be disrupted by having the second or third or fourth best athletes winning events, having events just flat out being canceled could make for a huge disappointment, assuming we're allowed to go through with the entirety of the 2+ week event.
Yeah, it's not ideal. I mean, you love to have the fans there and everything else, but we've seen this before. I mean, you just make the best of it. And, they've already delayed it for a year. So, I don't know, you're talking about delaying it for another year, just canceling them all together. Let's go out there and see what they can do. If you thought that some of the athletes were going to be in jeopardy of getting sick and, getting really ill or something, we don't think that's the case here, right? Like, we don't think that that's going to be the case from what we've seen here. So I think, going through and making the best of it and seeing what you can do, it's not going to be great. I'm not expecting like the awesome ratings or anything like this, but let's see what we can get from it. And I know that, Japan, it's not going to be a great host country here because they have problems. They don't even want it to happen, but this is just where we're at. So let's just make the best of it. That's what I say. If they pulled the plug, if they pulled the plug, I think what you'd have to see is just, you wake up one morning or you wake up tomorrow and they said, you know what, we've had, 50 other people that, have tested positive and it's just, we're not going to be able to put this together. Well, then you understand, but I think that they should try to go through and piece this together and see what can happen and go from there. And if it becomes where you think it's a farce or something like, they're getting ready to swim and, half of the swimmers can't go because then you shut it down. So, But I think they should give it a chance or give it a go.
Yeah, I think that people that are watching the Olympics have to be prepared to see any and everything potentially happen when it comes to the sixth best gymnast winning or the fourth best pole vaulter winning and also the Olympics being canceled midway through. Like I was watching TV shortly before we started and I saw that there have been 1,400 positive tests in the city of Tokyo in the last 3 days. And for a city of almost 14 million people, that doesn't seem like very much. The difference is the difference in culture, where in Tokyo, 1,400 people over a 3-day span, is a lot, or having like 2,400 people test positive in the country is cause for the alarm bells going off. Where in America, we get 30,000 people, obviously a bigger country. I think it's about 3 times bigger, but 30,000 people testing positive, or even, 100,000 people testing positive in a day. And a lot of folks are just shrugging their shoulders and saying, let's move on. In Tokyo, the city, and in Japan, the country, if things get even a little bit worse, and they're bound to get worse because they have been getting worse in the last week, that could be enough for people in that culture to say, we've had enough. That's it.
Well, it sounds like they've already said that. They didn't want it to happen to begin with because of what was going on. But, they decided that they were going to. Around here, we're still sort of used to it. I know people are like, screw it. These guys should be able to play anyway. Like when John Rahm, that was only a couple weeks ago, like after his 3rd round, he tested positive and he had to, pull out of the tournament, that he was 6 shots in the clear heading into Sunday. And we were all like, that sucks for him. It did suck for him. And then, Chris Paul had to miss the first 2 games of the finals, right? Because he was positive.
Yeah, Western Conference Finals, I think.
Yeah, that's right. You're right about that. So we've seen it just here recently, and these things are it's still happening, and we know with training camps opening up in the NFL and the mixed numbers, they don't have a high percentage of the NFL players. That it's not like you're sitting around saying, hey, these guys are all 100% vaccinated. We're good to go for the NFL season. You could have a situation where players could miss. So we didn't really have any of that affected the season last year, but we're also keeping an eye on that. That could happen too. So we're not completely clear of it all, but giving it a go to see how it's going to happen. There's other people you already mentioned, Chap. There's a lot of people that are like, they think they should just lift these restrictions. Like, hey, if somebody tests positive and they're not showing any symptoms, let them play.
No, you're right. There are a lot of people that think that. And it seems like most of the people that think that are in this country. In most other countries, they're taking it very seriously, where they don't have the ability to turn down the vaccine for various reasons, where everybody is wearing a mask because they are deathly afraid of what's going on. So I think the cultural difference is going to be huge. And, I think that also the fact that the Delta variant has become certainly the most dominant variant in America. I think 83% of all people testing positive now have the Delta variant, but it's probably close to the dominant variant in the world. It's so much easier to transmit. I heard an expert saying that if you have the Delta variant, even if you have been vaccinated and you're not showing symptoms, there's 1,000 times more viral load in your nostrils than if you had the original coronavirus. So you don't have to spend as much time around somebody. You don't have to be as close to somebody to transmit it to somebody else. So, I think that Tokyo residents have good reason to be concerned about there being a super spreader event on their island when they were doing a pretty good job, even without a heck of a lot of vaccines.
Yeah. I didn't know you were going to go to the viral load talk, but there you go. We got it. I think you make some good points.
All right. You ready to make everybody some money out there?
I am.
All right. We'll turn the page now to the 5th chapter, and that takes us to the major wager, where we try to get you guys a little bit of money now that sports betting is legal, particularly there's at MW, particularly in the state of Michigan. You can do so at any one of the casinos. And of course, you can do so on your phone. And I'll tell you this, Dennis, when I was on vacation over the last week, that was the longest I had gone without placing a bet since before sports betting was legal. Like I had some
can't
friends.
Do it, right? You're out there because they're tracking where you're placing it from, right?
Yeah, can't do it in California. I had some of my friends and some new friends that I made said, "Oh, what are you betting on?" I was like, "I can't bet on the game because I have to be in the state of Michigan." But Dennis, remind everybody what you bet on last week and what you're thinking about for tonight.
Well, unfortunately, I told everybody to take the Suns and the points. So that's what I told them. I thought of the last 2 games, I thought were going to be really close. I ended up on the wrong side of both of these. I like the idea of taking Milwaukee to win, but then taking the Suns to cover. That was in game 4. And then in game 5, I just came up and I liked the I like the Suns flat out. I thought that they had a good chance to win the game. I was even thinking about the money line. So I have, taken it, right in the kisser here. I wouldn't bet this game tonight.
Come on.
But if I had to, if I just had this money burning a hole in my pocket, because I really do want to see a game 7, I would be inclined. It's 5 points now. I would be inclined to lay the 5 and take Milwaukee. The city poised to just go, crazy. And, should I stay with my idea the last 2 games? Like, I think Milwaukee's going to win the games, but I think Phoenix is going to be able to, flip-flop it. I think when it was Milwaukee was home, I thought they were going to win, but I thought Phoenix could stay, and then it was vice versa for game 6. And, of course, neither of those things happened. Do I want to take Phoenix and the points tonight thinking Milwaukee's going to win? I would just take Milwaukee, and I'm going to lay the 5 points. I know that was a long way to get there, but that's my bet. I'll take the Bucks -5 to close out the season tonight and bring the championship home to Milwaukee.
All right. The last show that I did was 12 days ago, and on July 8th, for my major wager, I did not bet on the NBA Finals. I bet on UFC 264, but I did not bet. Yes, I was talking about viral load. But I did not bet on I bet on it, but my major wager was not for the main event between Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor. It was for the co-main event, which little Brian will remember. It was for Stephen Thompson versus Gilbert Burns. Burns was a small underdog in that fight, and I didn't just pick Gilbert Burns to win. I was aggressive, and I bet Gilbert Burns to win by decision at +390, and Gilbert Burns won by decision. So I hit that for a big payday, and I hope that a lot of you guys out there did the same bet, because you'd be very rich right now. Tonight, I thought about going back to the NBA Finals Game 6. Bambis are 5-point favorites. I'm not going there. I told myself I was going to be done betting on baseball because it's just very challenging, and I haven't had much luck with that. I was thinking about maybe doing Tigers -1.5 with Skubal on the mound, but I'm not going to go there. I haven't had a chance to look at any Olympic bets, though I will be taking America's opponent to cover just about every game when the men's basketball team is in action. That said, I'm going to the futures market for Major League Baseball. Yesterday, I made 2 bets on who's going to win the NL East, and neither is for the favorite. Right now, the Mets are 2.5 games up on the Phillies and 4.5 games up on the Braves, and the Mets are at -170 to win their division. I placed 1 bet on the Phillies, who are right now at +320, and another one on the Braves, who are +600 to win the division. First reason is because the Mets don't have Jacob deGrom. He's injured right now. We don't know when he's coming back. And more importantly, when he comes back, we don't know how long he's going to be back, because this is the second time that he's been on the IL this year. And losing the best player in the National League, certainly the best pitcher in the National League, is a problem. Also, a 2.5 game lead and a 4.5 game lead before the trade deadline is certainly not too much to overcome for either one of those teams. And additionally, at +25, the Braves have the best run differential in the NL East, better than the Phillies, better than the Mets, which suggests that they're underperforming and they have a chance to go on a run. So I like both of those bets. If you bet on both of those teams and you put an equal amount on both teams, and just one of those, obviously only one of them can win the division, but if one of those 2 wins the division, then you come out on top.
Yeah, well, there you go. We had somebody throwing us an over and under earlier. I was just seeing if I could find it really quick. Here it is. I think it's sorry, I'll have to put on the glasses to take a look for it here. Glasses. It was Raj who was asking us an over and under. We can bring in Jelinek for a second here, too, and see what he thinks. Sideshow talking an over and under on the Browns, 11 wins. They were at 11-5 last year. Jelinek, 11 wins. Is that the over and under for the Browns? Damn.
Yeah, I'll take the over on that. Absolutely.
So they would have to go 12-5 because it's a 17-game season.
Yeah, they can absolutely do that.
Oh, boy. Yes, they can.
I would be inclined to take the over, but I don't think I would bet that one. I'm going to look through. We'll get some over and unders coming in. Maybe we can even get Raj to jump in, give us the five. We'll play our five favorites there for the season before it kicks off. Ones that we'll bet. Actually, I think I am going to bet five of them. So I'll give you my five favorites on the over and under scale coming up before the NFL season.
I think that's a good line right there. And if it's a good line, then I would just not bet it.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Jelinek, anything else? You're staying away from the NBA because you said you're not going to do it anymore. You're giving me some good advice on golf. You know,
Spieth played well, man.
Spieth played well. If it wasn't for 17 and 18 on Thursday and 1 and 2 on Sunday, you know, he could have won it. But
I felt real good going in the Sunday morning with Spieth, but too bad on that one. He's played hell of a round now.
Yep. Anything else?
Nope, never betting on the NBA again. So I'm just looking forward to football season.
All right, looking forward to football. Then. All right, well, we'll see you on Thursday. Good job.
Thank you, little Brian.
Yep, Chap. Anything else?
No, we've got a great show Thursday and a big week next week, and I believe that next Thursday is the NBA draft, so that's going to be a monster show for us.
Well, we got the Red Wings draft coming up Friday as well. And then you teased something for Thursday too. What was that?
Al Avila's comment.
Oh, Al Avila. We'll get to all that Thursday for Little Brian and Big Brian. Dennis 50, and thanks for watching. Good night.
He represents the mitten by way of Penn State. When Chapman gets to talking sports, the people can't wait. He represents the mitten. Be a true EMU, but cut Dennis in the fall, and his veins bleeding blue. They got respect around the state when that light turns red. So don't sleep on these dudes. Just invite your friends to cut your nap short and tip your cap for and sit back for the fifth chapter. Brian Chapman. Dennis 50, and when they open their mouths, they spit in the facts, bro. This ain't even optional, man. You just have to tune into YouTube to watch the broadcast or download it to your phone to peep the podcast. They mix laughter, they get after. It's all captured in the fifth chapter.